Good evening and everyone, and welcome to the Tiverton Town Council meeting of Monday, November the 23rd, 2020. And we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I believe Solicitor Marcel. It'll do. It'll do. So we're going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the
to
republic
for which
it stands, one
nation,
nation,
under
under God,
God,
liberty and
indivisible,
justice for all.
with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Short notice.
Solicitor Marcello. Okay, we'll start with the consent agenda. Item A, approval of town council minutes, November 9th, 2020, the regular session. Item B, acknowledge. I'm sorry, did someone say something?
No roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry, Madam Clerk, here I am at my last meeting and
My
I'm
last
forgetting roll
roll call, you know,
call. Last roll call. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Council Hilton,
I'm present.
Council Driggs,
Present.
Council deMedeiros,
Present.
Council Cook,
Present.
Council Clarke,
Present.
Councilor Perry is trying to get on Zoom, and Councilor Edwards is absent.
Thank you,
Counselor
Madam.
Edwards will be a little bit late today.
Oh, thank you, Jeannie. So back to the consent agenda. Item A, approval of town council minutes, November 9th, 2020, regular session. Item B, acknowledge receipt of minutes from boards and commissions. There are 3 sets from the planning board. Item C, acknowledge receipt of reports from the treasurer, Denise, the October budget and revenue report. Item D, acknowledge receipt of correspondence. Item E, Police Chief Jones, authorization to advertise a public hearing on January the 11th, 2021 to amend the Code of Ordinances for installation of a stop sign at the intersection of Caffey Lane and Merritt Avenue. It's been referred to the police chief and the DPW director. Item F, the approval of tax abatements, which are attached. Item G, approval of license renewals non-advertised from December 1st, 2020 through November 30th, 2021, including tobacco dealers license renewals, victualling license renewals, and holiday license renewals. And I believe there's a list of those in your packet. Would anyone like to remove anything from the consent agenda? Councilor deMedeiros.
4E.
4E. Anyone else? In that case, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda minus 4E?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Second. I'll second it.
Thank you, Donna and Nancy. So we'll take a roll call vote. Councilor Driggs,
Yes.
Councilor Clarke,
Yes.
Councilor deMedeiros,
Yes.
Councilor Cook,
Yes.
and I'm also a yes. Okay, item 4E, Denise?
Nancy, I was just wondering why the public hearing goes all the way to January 11th.
Well, I need 21 days to advertise, and I was afraid of what the new council would be doing at the around the Christmas meeting, so I didn't know the date, and that was the next available, that was the very next meeting.
All right. Yeah, because the residents on Merritt Drive are very eager to have this happen quick. All right. I was just wondering if we had to go as far as January 11th.
Well, if you had a meeting December 23rd, but I don't know if you're going to have that. So it kind of got pushed to the following one just to make sure, because I'm not quite sure when.
Yeah, I would imagine we're
holiday-
probably going to have that meeting, but
It's
all
up
right,
to you.
that's fine.
Any
That's fine.
day.
That's fine. We'll do January 11th.
Okay. In that case, do I have a motion to approve consent agenda item 4E?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Donna. Councilor Driggs,
Yes.
Councilor Clarke,
Yes.
Councilor deMedeiros,
Yes.
Councilor Cook,
Yes.
and I am also a yes. Item 5, public comments regarding a council agenda item or other town business. We do have one. It has to do with a liquor license, so I think I'll just save that until we come to that item and read it into the record then. Which brings us on to item 6, which are the public hearings that are advertised. The first is item A, which is the approval of proposed amendment to the Tiverton Code of Ordinances, Article 1, Section 10, Public Nuisance of Animals, continued to December 14th. We had originally scheduled this for this meeting, assuming that the state would have certified the election results and the new council would be sitting, because it was determined that it would be best for the new council to take this up. But as you can see, the new council is not sitting. Welcome, Joe. The new council is not sitting, so we'll move it to the next. It will be continued to the first meeting where the new council will be seated, which is December 14th, 2020. Item 7, Board of Licensing non-advertised licenses. Item A, David Leonard Cabral, 60 Renault Street, Fall River, requesting approval of private detective license, and this is a renewal. Does anyone have any questions regarding Mr. Cabral's detective license renewal? No. In that case, do I have a motion to approve the renewal?
I'll make a motion to approve the David Leonard Cabral, 60 Reynard Street, Fall River, his request approval for private detective license be renewed.
Second,
And there's a second. Counselor Driggs,
Yes.
Counselor Clarke,
Quick discussion.
yes, go ahead.
Has he been vetted in any way that somebody can tell me about?
The
Has
only
he
thing
been-
we have to do for a private detective is run it by the police department.
Which
And
has been done?
yes,
Okay. Then I'm a yes.
Okay. Counselor Perry,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes,
Counselor deMedeiros,
yes.
and I am also a yes. And then as an advertised public hearing, Everett Lane Incorporated Family Ties Restaurant at 221 Main Road, requesting approval of a Class BV liquor license. And I believe that you have the enclosed packet with all of the backup. Madam Clerk, you can verify that all necessary materials and required backup are here.
yes. There are some adjustments to the spreadsheet that you received because some have brought taxes today, and we did receive the $450 payment from that business that you see on there since
Right.
Tuesday when the agenda went out.
Right, when we get to those, but this is just on the.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
liquor license.
We have what is
Restaurant one.
necessary.
Yeah.
And there is a map or a map, a
Yep, in
drawing
the back, yeah.
of seating. And that license should specify, Mike, our solicitor, that the alcohol license is granted, that is the area where the alcohol can be served, correct?
Consistent with the drawing submitted, yes.
Consistent with the drawing submitted. Does anyone have any questions before I open the public hearing?
I just have a question. Haven't they had a liquor license for a while? Is this new? Is
Yes.
it different?
No, it's new because last year, they did not apply for one.
Oh,
And now they want their license back. They've had it for years. That establishment has always had a liquor,
yes.
as long as I remember.
Oh, I see, renewal.
Last year,
Huh.
there was some, for whatever reason, he did not request it. So he went a
Oh.
year without one. Therefore, we had to go back, notice the abutters, and he has to treat it like a new license.
I see. Okay, I was a little confused about that. Thank you.
If there aren't any other questions from the council, I'll open it up for the public hearing. So if any members of the public would like to comment on this, and we do have one public comment that was received, so I will simply read it into the record. From McGough's Turf Management, dear council members, subject refer to Family Ties Restaurant BV liquor license application decision at the 11/23/2020 town council meeting. I sincerely hope a favorable decision will be made to award the BV liquor license to David Ferreira. David Ferreira grew up in Tiverton with his family at the west end of Randolph Ave. David has always been successful in his business ventures. Thank you very much. Sincerely, Bill McGough. So that is the one public comment that was received in writing. Chris, do you want to see if there are any members of the audience who would like to speak on this? Chris, you're muted. We can't, you're muted.
Sorry.
There we go.
So to the members who are on the attendee list, any of you who would like to speak, please raise your hand. And if you're watching on YouTube videos, you can dial into the dial-in number, which is on the agenda. 877-853-5247. Again, anybody in the attendee list, if you would like to speak on this matter, please raise your hand. And if you are out on YouTube videos and you would like to call in, it's 877-853-5247.
Have to give them the meeting number too, Chris. The meeting ID for that call.
And the meeting number is 827-9336-7213. And the passcode is 291084.
And not that it's required, but is Mr. Ferreira here in case he'd like to speak?
Mrs. Furr is here, I believe, so hang on. Sally, would you like to speak?
No, I think we're all set. We're just waiting for the decision. Dave's
Okay.
here also.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll ask one more time. Anybody in the attendee list who would like to speak, please raise your hand. And anybody who's on YouTube videos, it's 877-853-5247. The meeting number is 827-9336-7213. And the passcode is 291084.
No comments?
No comments.
In that case, I'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion to approve? Denise?
I'd like to make a motion to approve a Class B V liquor license to Everett Lane Incorporated, Family Ties, 221 Main Road.
Second.
I'll second it.
There's a motion and a second. Councilor Clarke?
Yes.
Councilor deMedeiros?
Yes.
Councilor Cook?
Yes.
Councilor Perry?
Yes.
Councilor Driggs?
Yes.
And I am also a yes. That brings us to the advertised public hearings for license renewals. So these are advertised renewals. They all run from December 1st, 2020 through November 30th, 2021. And if it's okay with the solicitor, I'd like to just read the list and then open the one sort of public hearing rather than one at a time.
Got it. Now what?
Go ahead.
In that case, starting with junkyard and secondhand dealer licenses, Arnold's Auto Parts, 1484 Crandall Road, General Auto Recycling Incorporated, 384 King Road, Legacy Salvage Yard, 20 Corey's Lane, Secondant Recycling LLC, 413 Bulgermarsh Road, Tiverton Auto Parts, 541 Bulgermarsh Road, Sanford and Son LTD, 104 Cynthia Avenue. For liquor license renewals, Class A liquor stores, Chandni Incorporated DBA Tiverton Liquors at 65 Main Road, Nimraj Incorporated DBA Crossroads Liquors, 1540 Bulgermarsh Road, Smitham Incorporated DBA Stonebridge Liquors at 2490 Main Road. Class BV full liquor license, Black Goose Company DBA Black Goose Cafe at 2160 Main Road, Evelyn's Nanaquacket Drive-In, at 2335 Main Road. Foodworth Inc., DBA Atlantic Sports Bar and Restaurant, 70 Shove Street. Hujan, DBA Little Bear Sports Lounge at 983 Main Road. Le Moulin Rouge Incorporated at 1403 Main Road. Michael Napolitano, DBA McRae Seafood at 115 Stafford Road. New Harbor Corp., DBA The Boathouse Restaurant, LLC at 227 Schooner Drive. Riptide Sports Grill Incorporated at 1 Bay Street. The Sakonnet River Grill at 524 Main Road. Silva Brothers Inc., DBA Barcelos Family Restaurant at 1214 Stafford Road. The Spring Restaurant Inc. at 118 120 Main Road. Susan's Restaurant, DBA Wally's Tap House at 13 Crandall Road. Dory Go Inc., DBA The Red Dory at 1848 Main Road. Locals Burgers and Cocktails at 4 Stafford Road. Class BVL limited liquor licenses. Classic Pizza Inc. at 495 Main Road. Jackie's Galaxy Tiverton Inc. at 777 Tiverton Casino Boulevard. Soul Seabury Associates Inc., DBA Four Corners Grill at 3841 Main Road. Class BT, which is a bed and tavern license. The Senior Lifestyle Sakonnet Bay LP, DBA Brookdale Sakonnet Bay at 1215 Main Road. Class D, unlimited club licenses. Bayview Holy Ghost Citizens Club, 66 Bottom Street. Woodrow L. Sylvia Post Home Association Inc. at 134 Shove Street. Class BC casino licenses. Twin River Tiverton LLC, DBA Tiverton Casino Hotel at 777 Tiverton Casino Boulevard. And indoor shooting range renewals. Randy LeBeau, DBA Sakonnet River Outfitters at 777 Main Road. And the Tiverton Rod and Gun Club at 1529 Fish Road. Just to point out, Nancy mentioned to you that there's a chart in your packets that lists all of the requirements and whether or not each of these entities has met the requirements. I think Nancy said that there are a couple that show as taxes being delinquent, but a number of those have been paid. Some of it had to do with the way we billed taxes this year, with the first quarter being different in the second quarter. But all of these licenses would be approved subject to meeting all legal requirements. So a number of them have already rectified whatever outstanding issue that they had. And the few remaining would need to have those issues rectified before they could actually be granted their licenses. So before I open it up to the public hearing, does anyone on the council have any questions? In that case, we'll open the public hearing. If any members of the public would like to comment on any of these advertised public license renewals. Chris, I'll let
So
you. do your
there are a
thing.
number of people in the waiting room and the attendee room. If any of you would like to speak on these matters, please raise your hand. And again, anybody who is watching on YouTube videos, you can dial in at 877-853-5247. The meeting ID is 827-9336-7213, and the passcode is 291084. I'll give it a minute. There's no hands up in the attendee room, and there's been no additional call-ins. So I'll state it one more time. If you want to speak, please raise your hand. Or if you're on YouTube videos, you can dial in at 877-853-5247. The meeting ID number is 827-9336-7213. And the passcode is 291084. Again, there's still nobody in the waiting room with a hand up there. And I do know that there are some of the owners of the businesses, but I will say it one more time. Anybody who has an interest in speaking on these matters, please raise your hand. And if you're on YouTube videos, you can dial in at 877-853-5247 with the meeting number 827-9336-7213 with the passcode of 291084. And Madam President, I do not see any attendees who wish to speak at the moment.
In that case, if There is no one wishing to speak. I'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion for renewal?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Donna.
The quarry license renewal.
Yes, but we haven't gotten to that yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion.
Joe,
I'll make a motion to renew the license for these applications.
subject to, would you be willing to amend that to include the word subject to meeting all legal requirements?
Yes,
Okay,
to meet
So-
all legal requirements.
okay. Is there a second?
Second,
All right, there's a motion and a second. So Counselor Driggs,
yes,
Counselor Clarke,
yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes,
Counselor deMedeiros,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes.
and I am also a yes. That brings us to non-advertised public hearings for license renewals. Again, all of these licenses run from December 1st, 2020 through November 30th, 2021. The first group are entertainment licenses: Atlantic Sports Bar and Restaurant, 70 Shove Street; Bayview Holy Ghost Citizens Club, 66 Bottom Street; Hujon Inc., Little Bear Sports Lounge, 983 Main Road; Sandy Woods Farm Inc., 43 Muse Way; Locals Burgers and Cocktails, 4 Stafford Road; Tiverton LLC DBA Tiverton Casino Hotel, 777 Tiverton Casino Boulevard; Silva Brothers Inc., Barcelos Family Restaurant at 1214 Stafford Road; Senior Lifestyle Brookdale Saconnet Bay LP, 1215 Main Road; Susan's Restaurant Inc., 13 Crandall Road; Riptide Sports Grill Inc., DBA Riptide at 1 Bay Street; VFW, the Woodrow L. Sylvia, 134 Shove Street; and the Spring Restaurant at 118, 120 Main Road. Mobile home park license renewals: the Dadson Mobile Homeowners Association, DBA Dadson Mobile Estates at 301 Bulgamarsh Road; the Four Seasons Mobile Home Cooperative Association, 225 Brayton Road; Heritage Home Park Cooperative Inc., 100 Heritage Park; Patchett Brook Park Inc., 4502 Main Road. The next group, or there's only one actually, manufactured home elderly community license renewal: Country View LLC, DBA Country View Estates at 1213 Hearst Lane. And you'll note that there is the required planning board recommendation attached. The next group are petroleum storage license renewals. The first is Andrew E. Snyder, 605 Neck Road; Tiverton Public Works, 50 Industrial Way; Feral Gas Inc., 896 Fish Road; Santa Energy, DBA Inland Fuel Terminals, 25 State Avenue; JMAC Corp., DBA Three Ducks Gas and Car Wash, 400 Main Road; Bill's Propane Inc., 477 Crandall Road; SK Properties Kingfisher Housing Associates, 40 Alicia Circle; Tiverton Marina, DBA Standish Boatyard, 1697 Main Road; SGA Inc., DBA George's Gas and Service Station, 1215 Stafford Road; Tiverton Sun at 497 Main Road; Tiverton Casino Hotel, 777 Casino Boulevard; Speedway LLC, DBA Speedway, number 39211 at 1308 Stafford Road. Fireworks license renewals: East Lake Variety Inc., 750 East Lake Road; Point Inc., DBA State Line Tobacco at 29 Stafford Road; SFS Corp., DBA Elaine's Country Store, 1204 Fish Road; Nimraj Inc., Crossroads Liquors, 1540 Bulgamarsh Road; Ramco, 1560 Bulgamarsh Road; Step by Step Convenience Inc., 429 Main Road; Euro Gifts LLC, Firework Connection, 34 Main Road. Flea Market license renewal: Route 177 Flea Market, 1560 Bulgamarsh Road. And finally, quarry license renewal: Charles Coelho CMC FLP, 1764 Crandall Road. And you'll also notice that there is an attached planning board recommendation with that. Do any counselors have any questions about any of these?
Madam President,
Yes, Joe.
I'd like to recuse myself from fireworks license 5 Ramco and K flea market license renewal 177 flea market.
I'm just going to ask the solicitor then, since Joe needs to recuse on these 2 items, do we have a vote? Let's vote separately on those 2 items.
Let's vote separately on those 2 items now, and then you can participate in the other, the remaining.
Okay. Are there any other questions from the council on any of these other?
Yes,
Go ahead, Donna.
it says there's something attached for the planning board recommendation. Do I have it?
It is in your backup.
It's somewhere.
There's a planning board recommendation for both Country View Estates as well as the quarry license renewal. You should have it.
Oh, I see. It's in the back of the minutes. Okay. It's part of that. All right.
Are there any other questions or comments from the council before I open the public hearing? In that case, Chris, would you like to see if anybody would like to speak?
So anybody who's in the attendee room, you're more than welcome to speak at this point on any of these matters. You can raise your hand. And if you're on YouTube videos, you can dial in at 877-853-5247. The meeting ID number is 827-9336-7213 with a passcode of 291084. Again, anybody in the attendee room who would like to speak, just raise your hand. And if you're on YouTube videos and you would like to speak, dial in at 877-853-5247 with a meeting ID of 827-9336-7213 and a passcode of 291084. I'll do this one more time. Anybody in the attendee room, just raise your hand if you would like to speak on these matters. And if you are watching on YouTube videos, you can dial in at 877-853-5247 with a meeting ID of 827-9336-7213 and a passcode of 291084. And I don't see any new numbers coming in, and there is no hands up in the attendee list.
In that case, unless there are any other comments, we'll close the public hearing, and I would entertain a motion to approve all of these license renewals with the exception of the fireworks license renewal for Ramco at 1560 Bugelmarsh Road and the flea market license renewal at 56 Bugelmarsh Road. And we'll do those 2 separately.
So moved.
Second,
There's a motion and a second. Counselor Driggs,
yes,
Counselor Perry,
yes,
Counselor Clarke,
Yes.
Counselor deMedeiros,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes.
and I'm also a yes. And then Counselor Perry is recusing from these 2. So do I have a motion to approve the license renewals for a fireworks license for Ramco at 1560 Bugelmarsh Road and a flea market license renewal for the Route 177 flea market at 1560 Bugelmarsh Road?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Counselor Driggs,
yes,
Counselor Clarke,
Yes.
Counselor Perry? Joe? Oh, no,
I'm
that's right.
recused. I'm
You-
recused.
I'm just going in order here.
Okay.
Counselor deMedeiros,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes.
and I am also a yes. Under general business, item A, Susan Gill, Planning Board Chair, discussion on Winterberry Woods surety. So is Susan with us?
He was, hang on, here she is. Yep, hang on. Susan, can you hear us?
She's muted.
Okay,
Susan, you're muted.
Oh, it says I'm still muted. Oh,
Go ahead. Susan, you're on.
You're
Oh.
on.
where am I? Oh, you can hear me?
yep.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Did you want me just to explain what this was? The treasurer had brought forward a couple of years ago, trying to clear up some longstanding sureties that the planning board was holding for different projects. So we've been trying to resolve some of these, whether the funds were retained by the town or they would go back to the developer. So this one we were working on was Winterberry Woods subdivision. But it's still, the town is still holding a $5,000+ surety. And what was at issue is the plan has been recorded, the as-built have been submitted, and so there were basically no outstanding items except that the roads have not been accepted by the town. So that's Winterberry Drive, Elderberry Lane, Gooseberry Lane, and Teaberry Lane. And going back through and reviewing all the older documents, you have in your packet things. One, Rick Rogers, DPW, went and reviewed the roads, and his comments are on the sheet attached, that he found no issues based on them being 10+ years old. And then researching old town council minutes, because we recalled that it had come before the council previously, was from 2014, at which time there was a discussion with the council about accepting the roads. The one item that does remain outstanding is that we couldn't find a record of is no homeowners association has never been formed. I believe that was one of the requirements. I think, if I recall correctly, it was established in the name of the developer, but what happens once a subdivision is completed, then that's turned over to the homeowners association, and then they are responsible for the requirements. Usually it's stormwater, sometimes it's roads. So what we were, as we discussed this, our recommendation, along with what Mr. Rogers presented, was to, if the council were the ones willing to accept the road, would be contingent upon them forming a homeowners association and having that document recorded, so that would alleviate Department of Public Works being responsible for any future maintenance to the stormwater system. I don't know if Mr. Rogers is here tonight, if he wants to speak to it. What typically happens then, if the town accepts the roads, then it would come back to the planning board with that recommendation, and we would then vote to release the surety to the developer. That's how it usually falls. So, I mean, basically, we looked at this and felt like that the roads were ready to be approved, but with the one caveat that they formed a homeowners association and recorded those documents.
Susan, may I ask a question?
Sure.
I know that not all subdivisions require a homeowners association. Do we know why this particular development, it's recorded apparently that there's a required homeowners association?
Right. Well, I think what's happened is when the town can't assume responsibility for the infrastructure, then it shifts to the developer, and then
Hang on one second.
There's a lot of feedback or something.
Do we know where the noise? Okay, that's better.
Yeah.
So Susan, can you explain why in this particular case there was a requirement for a homeowners association?
I believe it's because this preceded when I came on the planning board, but it was that there was a lot of roads in the subdivision with a lot of stormwater maintenance that was associated with it. And when the town can't assume the responsibility for the upkeep, then it unfortunately shifts to the homeowners. So otherwise, it puts the town on the hook to be responsible for whether it's roads, it's usually the roads and or stormwater maintenance. So I guess at the time that this was done, it was determined that the town couldn't or wouldn't assume responsibility for the stormwater management.
But we would accept, assuming that they were approved, we'd accept responsibility for the roads, but not for the stormwater.
Right, right, right. And that's how a lot of these subdivisions go now, especially the rural residential. It's the town doesn't have the ability to manage some of the infrastructure improvements. So it puts it on the responsibility of the developer and then the homeowners to maintain them. It's like stormwater drainage basins, overflow. Sometimes it's landscaping and that sort of thing.
But this requirement was recorded as a
Requirement.
condition
Right.
of accepting the subdivision.
Right. And so I believe the developer, so initially it always is the developer establishes a homeowners association, and that's how it's recorded with Secretary of State. And then once the projects are completed, then the homeowner association is formed by the residents, and then the homeowner association is then recorded in their name. And that's when they collect dues, and it travels with their deeds, and they're responsible then for the changes. I mean, because if the council accepts the roads without requiring the homeowners association and stormwater management plan, that will then, once you accept the roads, then town has no more recourse. And that would make DPW going forward responsible for the stormwater management in the development and any other issues that might come up, street lights, trees, anything like that.
May I speak?
Yes, Donna, go ahead.
Is this the same type of problem we ran into with the Barton?
Yeah,
William Barton Woods, or
No,
we
this-
got, yeah, they gave the money out, and then there was all these problems with water drainage, and the roads were sinking, and I don't know, we kind of got stuck with it, and it cost quite a bit of money. I think I'm correct on this, and couldn't get in touch with the people that built it was kind of a mess. I really it's pretty clear here that they have to do the homeowners association, and I don't feel that I want the taxpayers to be burdened with something that's not finished. Personally, I don't want to do that. I'm just speaking for myself.
Madam President,
Nancy?
I just want to make mention that when this developer left abruptly, the council then had to vote to take some of the surety money and complete some of the work that the developer did not complete. And we tried to get a homeowner association. At that time, some of the owners were trying to get a homeowner association. And the reason that hasn't been accepted is because it never followed through with that. And actually our DPW had to do some work down there already. This was years back. I'm not sure if Denise was aware of it, but I certainly am.
Yep,
Yeah.
I am aware of it.
I know in some of the older files, I mean, we did have documentation for a number of, a lot of the work that was done, and I think it was up to like almost a couple $100,000 worth of work, and there were invoices to back it up. It's a matter of if there was any additional work since then. I think you'd have to probably provide the documentation to show that the town was still.
Retaining wall, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I would have to go back and look at I didn't bring that packet with me, but I don't know is Rick out? Is he? I don't know if Rick's in this meeting or not, if you wanted to speak to it also. Because he did a recent inspection of the development.
DPW Rick Rogers, I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Go ahead, Rick.
There was approximately $244,000 out of the $100,000 used from the surety by DPW and subs evidently back in 2011 or something like that. So there is no formal agreement right on the maintenance of either the decorative streetlights or, to DPW's knowledge, or the stormwater maintenance basins. Right now, it's simply that it appears that the neighbors to the basins maintain them. But DPW doesn't have the resources to maintain the basins or the decorative streetlights. And it's certainly my understanding that there's no funds in the PRISM streetlight account to take care of decorative lights either. So the homeowners association is important as far as DPW is concerned.
All right,
And-
so, I'm sorry.
Well, is there anyone in the neighborhood right now that we know of who's working on forming the homeowners association?
Not
We might-
not that I'm aware of. I think, the difficulty is the planning board really doesn't have a role in this anymore, because we discussed maybe sending certified letters out to them to try and encourage them to form a homeowners association. So we could send a positive recommendation to accept the roads, but after discussing it, realized that really it's not in our purview anymore to do that. That would probably be the council that would contact them and notify them. And just, I think Denise was the only member of the council then, because as I've mentioned before, really the only leverage the council has at this point that they did with Daniel Church was proposed to withdraw town services unless they formed a homeowners association. And that was the way they got them to agree to it and do that. Otherwise, there's really no incentive for them to do it. There really is no incentive. And the town is still, it's in limbo, basically, the way it is now. It's all in limbo, and we still are holding $5,000 of money that we just like to resolve to close these accounts. And that's the thing. It's not a lot of money, but it's a matter of resolving these and having these, because the town is providing town services, to have them hold up their end of the bargain and form their homeowners association.
Well, Driggs.
Can I ask Donna again to really elaborate her concerns?
I don't think that they have met their responsibility. And now we hear there's fancy lights that I don't think anyone should be responsible for, or the water. I don't want another William Barton situation to occur at all. And it says we're providing a town services, and we haven't even, once again, accepted the streets. There's really no incentive for that. Their responsibility is to form the homeowners association, and they haven't done it yet.
Right, okay.
And I think it's clear to me, myself, that I personally will not accept on the taxpayers' dole this situation unless they have to rectify it. These people that live in this place, this area, have to rectify what their responsibility is here. And it's not a lot of money, I understand that. It still is not our responsibility right now, because they haven't fulfilled what they promised to do.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
May I ask the solicitor, Mike, do you have a recommendation?
Well, I think it's important to note that I believe, and Rick can correct me if I'm wrong, that the town is providing services to this road, this development currently. So, Rick, am I correct on that?
Yeah, yes, Mike, the town does currently via DPW supply the trash and recycle curbside pickup, the plowing and sanding, and road maintenance. It's very unclear to me why, but we do currently do it.
So as the chair of the planning board suggested, the only leverage we have is to withhold those town services pending a homeowners association, which I think is a little onerous, frankly, to do. But that's my suggestion would be this. I think maybe a joint letter from me or the town administrator or Rick Rogers should go out to all the people in this homeowners, to the neighborhood, and basically saying, under the requirements of the development, you're required to form homeowners associations with regard to, I guess, the street lights and the drainage basins, and have them, give them a certain amount of time to do so, and hopefully they'll do it. But really is, I mean, the only stick that you guys have as a town is to say you're going to withhold the services, and I don't know if coming into winter we want to do that, but that's a policy decision. That's not my decision to make. I would say that it's very likely. Rick, how long have we been providing services to this?
A long time.
It appears, Mike and Denise, that it's been about maybe eight years, 9 years.
So that's a problem in itself from a legal perspective. But go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. That's my best recommendation, Council President.
Thank you, Mike. Chris?
Yeah.
So my only question is and I don't know how this happens, but are the properties, the actual lots that were sold as part of this development, are there deed restrictions on their deeds that actually put them on notice that they were required to have a homeowners association when they purchased these lots? Because it seems like where it's the cat, we're chasing cats. It should have been recorded somewhere that even when the developer had it, that it was a homeowners association. When he got out of it, all those purchasers should have known they had to do a homeowners association, and it should be recorded on their deeds as a stipulation. So, if it's not there, how do we go now and do this 10 years later?
Do we know the answer to that?
Well, and if we don't know the answer, we should correct it as moving forward for any future development, that any lots that are carved out and there's no potential buyers yet, all those lots should have deed restrictions on them for a homeowners association. I don't know if you can do that, but that's something that should be done.
Well, I do know that some deeds do in fact include the provision for a homeowners association. That is in fact part of some of these recorded deeds. So I think that's a question that we need to have answered. It does sound like at least at the beginning, though, some group of owners were aware that one was supposed to be recorded because they attempted or made a start at a homeowners association. Yes.
Trish.
Yes, Denise.
This was discussed a long time ago, and but I do believe that they were aware that they were supposed to start a homeowners association. That's how this all came about. At a meeting a long time ago, I remember it being discussed. And I think there was somebody that was trying to start the homeowners association. Am I right, Susan?
Yeah, I think that's the second memo. Was Kelly Levesque was the one that I used.
Don't you remember that? And she was trying to get
Right.
the other property owners to participate.
Right, and Mike Normandin was the chairman of the homeowners association, and
Yeah.
it was recorded, I think, the name of the developer. So I didn't look at, that would be the thing to see if it's in the deeds, but I believe that they were very aware that they needed to establish one based on that memo that's in your packet. I mean, they were trying to form.
Yeah,
one.
I'm reading it. I do believe that I mean, we'd have to check these deeds, but if I remember back, these the participants at this meeting were aware that they had to start this.
Right. It's just there's no incentive for them to do it unless
Well, maybe we need.
you have to provide them the incentive. Yeah.
May I speak?
Go ahead, Donna.
I'm sorry, you can't see me. I think.
I can't see anyone.
I think, well, I think this keeps happening because there's no particular ordinance that addresses the issue of home ownership and what's these homeowner associations. I think we need one because this is the second time, maybe it's the third. I only know of William Barton, and then this again. It keeps happening, and as long as we provide services, of course, no one's good. They're happy to accept all the services, but basically, it's a violation for everything. It's a violation for the town to be doing that. it's also a violation of the fact that they were supposed to form an association. All around, it's not right. And I think the only way to stop this is to have an ordinance that actually everyone can look at, and then you have something to hold on to go to. We don't have anything, do we?
Well, I am going to tell you that very quickly. I just pulled up one of these deeds, and all of these deeds have this language in it. By acceptance of this deed, grantees shall become a member of the Winterberry Woods Owners Association and shall be equally responsible, together with all other lot owners, to pay their proportional share of all costs of repair, maintenance, and replacements, and all other costs as provided in said declaration.
Okay.
So it is written into all of their deeds. And there is a declaration of restrictions and protective covenants that govern this, that is in fact recorded in the land evidence. So, you know, and that runs with the deed. So anyone purchasing one of these properties should be aware of that. Mike, did you want to say something?
So I mean, thank you for that research. That's very helpful. And that really does kind of solve the issue for us. I mean, it's not like they're not. Chris's concern was that, you know, three houses, you know, three purchases later, there was nothing in the deed to suggest that they had have to have a homeowner association. So, you know, again, our only stick is to withhold services. I don't think the town wants to do that at this point, but it's up to you, the town council, if they want to do that or not formally accept the roads, and saying because the roads are not formally accepted, we're not going to provide services. But I would put that in a letter, but I would, you know, give them time to form it and basically say, it's, you know, time to move this forward.
Well,
So
could
is
we
there-
get past? I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Donna.
I was trying to talk. Michael, do you think it's a good idea if we send the letter out that we have a stop date, which would be after the winter? I don't want to take anything away from them right now because that would be kind of dangerous. Let's say June 1st. If this isn't resolved, that everything stops.
I think that's a fair, you know, that's a fair assumption. But again, you just, you know, I don't know how complicated these are to form, but you know, I don't know how big the neighborhood is, but it's, you know, you got to get everyone to kind of agree, and it may be difficult, but yeah, I mean, that's a fair. You got to give them at least time to form one, and I think that's fine to give them through the winter.
Yeah. And they'll have ample notice. And do you have to do it without prejudice when you do something like that, so that, you know, nothing comes back at us? Or
no, just reserve the rights to, you know, withhold the approval of the roads, basically.
all right.
Final acceptance. I mean, acceptance.
All right.
Otherwise, they're private. They become private roads.
Well, they are, and we
They
gave
are private roads
services.
right now,
We
right.
shouldn't have been given services. Again, it happened again. I'm just concerned, do we need an ordinance?
Well, I think the bigger issue is most of the time it's fine. It's when you have a developer that kind of leaves everybody in the lurch, which is sort of what happened in this case where it goes south. So the developers that, you know, fulfill their obligations, it's generally not a problem, but occasionally a developer doesn't finish and departs before the work is done. So I'm not sure the solution, but I know that Councillor Edwards had his hand up. Hi, John. You wanted to say something?
Yeah, just wanted to apologize to everybody for being late to the meeting. Obviously, with parent-teacher conferences and a wife as a teacher, that kind of took precedent. In any case, I mean, obviously, I think that this is a major issue and it's something that hopefully the next council will pick up, but it wouldn't be just in regards to the specific neighborhood. You know, I know that there's other neighborhoods where there's private roads that are receiving town services, and quite frankly, I don't think it's fair to everybody who pays taxes in this town for town services to be extended to private roads, where it's essentially a free ride for these, you know, for these homeowners. So, you know, I like what Councillor Cook had to say and the suggestion that we kick this out and at least get them through the winter and give them time to form. But I don't think that the town should move forward and accept any of these roads until they've met their obligations, especially if it's recorded in their deeds.
Madam Clerk?
those letters have been sent out before to different areas. We did send out letters, and I actually have commitment letters had to be sent back from all the residents on Daniel Church Estates, because that developer started an association and no one else would assume responsibility because of the pond there. Lawrence Court I have arrangements with Lawrence Court that the town said, we're not going to continue to plow unless you come up with your homeowner association. There was one with a condo unit of, I think, Bucky LeBlanc's on Stafford Road with the same thing. This is not new. We've sent these letters before, and they have come forward and formed the association. Problem with that is we get them to form it. They have to register it with the Secretary of State, but there's follow-ups to all this. When you know that president leaves and the association falls apart, you got to resurrect the whole problem, comes up all over again. But I do have copies of the letters that the attorney sent out. I do have their agreements. They're actually set agreements that if all those homeowners did not sign, we were not going to provide the services. The council wasn't going to provide the services. Now, it wasn't under Director Rogers. I will say these prior, but just a little bit of history set forward, that's all.
Okay. But the outstanding question here really is what to do about the remaining surety, right? That's what Susan's asking.
I don't think we can release the surety until we resolve the HSA, because again, we have really no leverage.
Okay. So is the council's then general thought, and I don't know if we need a motion on this or if it's just a consensus, that the town solicitor is going to approach the homeowners with a letter noticing them of their need to form a homeowners association and be responsible for those things that are laid out in their recorded deeds that they're to be responsible for, and tentatively, give them a time frame until June 1st, 2021, to get that work done and be in compliance, and the surety then could be released at that point.
I think so, yes.
Oh, no, then the town, once they establish the homeowners association, they would come back to you and request acceptance of the streets. And then once you guys do that, then you forward that on to us, and then the planning board releases the surety.
Correct.
Right.
Chris, did you
So
want to?
can you send us the plat and lots so that we can track down who the owners are? From the planning board standpoint, what the lots are?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So we have a plan going forward for this.
No vote necessary. It's down for discussion.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you, Susan.
Oh,
On to item.
Donna, too.
On to item B, Town Administrator Cotta, approval for emergency purchase of police fire IT server from Municipal Capital Improvement Fund account 09809999. Chris?
So a while back here, we had a system crash that maintains the IMC systems for both police and fire, along with some other ancillary services that provide basically direction where items go for both departments. So it's a methodology on how things get routed. That server failed miserably. We tried a number of different ways to resurrect it. It could not be restored. We actually had to take the fire department's services and put it on an old desktop. And we ran with that, actually limping for a couple of days until we could actually get a service provided and get the equipment in-house to get them back up and running again. It's actually a pretty vital piece of equipment. It does maintain all the records related for how our billing agencies would tabulate the services that are provided. And it provides all the information that the fire service needs for all their reporting mechanisms. We did utilize our vendor that we use in-house, Everlasting Designs, to do the mechanical work of setting this up, but in order to buy the equipment, we went through the state's master price agreement system, and we utilized a vendor there to replicate the HP style equipment that was in-house, that is used at the police department. And we're just seeking a methodology on how to pay for it now. There is monies in that municipal capital improvement fund. This was something that was not anticipated at all. Although I know under the municipal capital, there is was some discussion last year of doing some major IT renovations throughout the town, and those got postponed due to the obviously the COVID issues and the loss of gaming. So with that, I would ask approval to utilize that fund to pay for the server.
Are there any questions from the council?
I have something, I'm just trying to figure out, I thought we fixed all this. It was like $18,000 and then it was $20,000 and like, when is this going to be fixed? It all crashed last year. Is it the same problem?
I don't know what you're talking about. Is this the first I'm hearing of something that crashed?
Yeah, well, you weren't the town administrator, to be fair, but we went through a lot of money repairing. They couldn't talk to each other. It kept crashing, and it was supposed to be fixed. And we gave, we took out a different accounts to try to fix this. I think Denise remembers this, and here it is again. Is it the same problem, a different problem, or, I mean, are we just like just little fixes here and there? I mean, it adds up after a while. Can it get fixed?
So,
I mean, this is not a good thing.
No, it's not a good thing. I will tell you that the server that we replaced was over 10 years old. It is outlived its useful life. It was no longer being supported by HP. It had been that far along. And while it did work for a number of years and we get some mileage out of it, when they go, they go. And we have some other IT issues. I know the treasurer's office is dealing with some issues, and we have some other issues right here in town hall that ultimately we're going to have to rectify at some point. Ideally, we should have one master IT system throughout this municipality, and it should be redundant, and it should be so that we don't have any fails like this in the future. We have something to back up to and restart as to move forward, so that we're not in these kinds of situations. I mean, we are crimping along in IT. It is, most of the things we have are fairly antiquated. I do know that they did some work related to moving to some agencies to Office 365, and they moved some things to the cloud, but there is still a pretty big void when it comes to the IT infrastructure in this community. Things that we really do need to look at and correct. I know the chief is on. He can address some of the issues if more succinctly as I can. I know there are systems that impacted his operations, and they did get most of those back up and running fairly quick, but the fire department was actually left limping along.
Oh my goodness. Do you remember, Denise, what was fixed? Remember, it was there was all kinds of crashes and people couldn't talk to each other, and I mean, it was a serious situation with the communication.
I think one of the things, Donna, to keep in mind is that we had allocated a not insignificant amount of money for IT infrastructure in last year's budget. And with the COVID crisis and the loss of the casino revenue, we simply didn't have the funds to do it. So I do think that we need to, start again with a master IT plan. We had also talked about, once the funding was available, potentially going out to bid in terms of hiring a consultant, an IT consultant that could help us, navigate through this in the most expeditious manner. But we are budget-wise still a bit at the Band-Aid stage, simply because of the funding that's available.
Right. Well,
Denise, you had your hand up.
Yeah, Chris, I'm trying to figure out how much total this is gonna come out to.
So this is just the hardware. So I don't have the bills for Everlasting Design to actually put it together. They were there a number of days trying to patch this together. The hardware is all purchased.
There's all separate invoices here, so it's all these invoices?
Yes, it's two major invoices. One of them has two items on it. It's the care pack and the actual server itself. And then that is invoiced on 10/29 for $5,745. And there is another invoice for $3,744. That's the memory, the processing, and the hard drives that go in that.
Right, so don't we have to have a specific amount that we need to put in the motion to transfer?
I believe, I thought I had that in the memo. No, that's.
I'm trying to find it. I don't know if you have it in there. Does anyone see a specific, oh, no.
Hang on.
I see all the different invoices.
So it's only two invoices, 5,745.74.
I see 3,7466.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then,
And then I see.
then at the end, what, nine?
The
is it-
5,000 one.
That's it. Those are the only two.
No,
So
there's the,
together, it's 9,490.40. That's the two of those equal that.
Okay,
oh,
so what you're asking to transfer is 5,745.74?
how come it says 9,000?
Yeah, I'm confused.
Well, it would have to cover 9,000. Is that a total of everything, Chris?
Yeah, 9,490.40.
So you need 9,490.40 to be
Yes.
transferred
Oh, there it
to pay
is.
for this.
I see it.
Okay,
And we're taking this out of the capital reserve?
Yes, the municipal capital reserve. That's
Okay,
so it's non-budgeted monies for this year, but the money is sitting there. It's 107, as of June 30th, there was 173,000.
yeah,
Yes.
okay.
Do I have a motion?
all right, I'd like to make a motion to approve for emergency purchase of the police fire IT server from Municipal Capital Improvement Fund account 0980 -9990 for the amount of, so find it,
9,000.
9,000, yeah.
949, 949.4.
There you go. There it is. Yep.
Second.
There's a motion and a second.
Yep, I second it.
Counselor Driggs. Counselor Driggs,
She's,
Where'd she go?
she's there.
is that a yes?
She's muted.
You're muted.
Yes.
Thank you. Counselor Clarke,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes,
Counselor deMedeiros,
Yes,
Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes,
and I am also a yes. Police Chief Jones requests approval of budget transfer from account 3330-5101 personnel to account 3330-5120 accreditation stipend for $4,500 to cover the AFSCME stipend. Chief,
Pat, you there?
you're muted.
oh, God.
There he is.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hello,
Okay.
Chief.
Good evening. So this request is to cover the accreditation stipend for the AFSCME employees that took place as part of collective bargaining. When we put together the budget cycle that we're currently in, the contract was still open. So this was not budgeted for initially. The budget had passed and then the contract had settled. So there was a shortage in this account. So and I worked with the treasurer on this and this came up. So just to balance the count to zero, I'm asking for this transfer.
Questions, comments? John?
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the transfer of $4,500 from account 3330-5101 to account 3330-5120.
Second,
There's a motion and a second. Counselor Driggs,
Yes.
Counselor Clarke,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
yes,
Counselor deMedeiros,
Yes.
Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes.
and I am also a yes. Don't go anywhere, Chief. Police Chief Jones requests permission to advertise to establish an eligibility list for future public safety dispatcher position.
So this request is simply to establish an eligibility list for possible openings, which we'll talk about in, I think, in 2 sections, of potential dispatcher openings of which we do not have an active list. So this would just give me the ability to send out applications for eligibility only at this time.
Any questions? Counselor Edwards?
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to grant Police Chief Jones permission to advertise to establish an eligibility list for future public safety dispatcher position openings.
There's a second.
second,
Second.
There are no other comments. Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Counselor Driggs?
Yes.
Counselor Perry?
yes,
Counselor Clarke?
Yes.
Counselor deMedeiros?
Yes.
Counselor Cook?
Yes.
And I am also a yes. And Chief Jones again request permission to hire 4 probationary police officers to attend the police academy in January 2021. Memo attached.
So I know the administrator had sent you the memo, or at least I hope that he sent it to you, and I'm sure he did,
Yeah.
regarding the breakdown of the current staffing of the police department. Just so I want to just be clear too, I know I put in there the number of police officers that we currently have, and there was also a list of all of the names of the current staffing as of November 2020. Just so to be clear, there is also one officer, Officer Liam Black, who is currently on the payroll. He has 9 days left and he will be leaving. He's actually using up the remainder of his vacation time. So he's in and out of work. So I did not count him towards the November 2020 staffing because he's not going to be with us in 2 weeks. And also, if you do approve this, we would not be paying these 4 recruits until they begin the police academy, which will start January 11th of 2021.
Denise?
So Patrick, why do you need 4 more?
So we
You have
are,
27 now.
yep, that's correct.
Okay.
So we are fiscally authorized, also authorized by you, when I made my presentation through the budget process, to have 31 police officers, which would include 2 non-union, myself and the deputy police chief, and 29 union police officers as the overall strength of the police department. So right now, with Officer Black retiring, we have 1 recruit in the police academy. That will bring us to 27 police officers, to include myself and the deputy chief. So with 4, that will bring us to 31. I should also add to it, I broke this down in the memo. I know 4 seems like a lot. And I know that always raises an eyebrow when we're sending multiple people to the police academy. This number would have been less. The reason why it's 4 is because last year at this time, we sent 2, which is the normal number. We're normally sending 2 recruits every academy class. Back in January of 2020, we sent 2. In the first week, one of the 2 recruits dropped out, and it was impossible to replace them. So we only sent 1 to that class. So we lost that slot. Then the current academy, which started in July of this year, we did a vetting process. We had people apply. Myself, the administrator, and the personnel board interviewed 5 potential candidates. Of the 5, only 1 was deemed qualified. And I know it's our position that I'm not going to recommend someone, and I know the administrator won't, and I know you won't, someone that we do not feel qualified who's a fit for the department. I'd rather go without, which is what we did. So there is 1 recruit in the academy now who's due to graduate in 2 weeks. So if we would have been sending two recruits. I would have only been asking for another 2 recruits. So those 2 slots are to make up the 2 that we've lost over the past year. And over the past year, we've had 3 additional vacancies, to include 2 retirements, and that includes Officer Black, and a resignation that happened in the spring.
So we're budgeted for 29 officers.
31.
29
No,
union
wait a
officers, the
minute.
deputy chief and the police chief,
Right,
correct?
so 29 plus the deputy chief and the police chief,
That is correct.
right? Because all right, because 31 didn't make sense to me, but 29 plus you 2.
Right.
And
I
this is
did all
budgeted.
the total
This is
sworn
absolute-
police officers. Correct, sir. Ma'am.
And this is budgeted.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Well, I actually do remember going through this multiple times. And just to simplify the math a little bit, as of right now, today, this moment, there are 20, we are paying today 28 Tiverton police officers, including the deputy chief and the chief. And one of those officers is in the police academy. So, but that's included in the count. And then there is one officer, Officer Black, who is retiring, whose last day is in December, I think you said, Chief?
Yes, ma'am.
Which would put us at 27. So if you add the 4 requested recruits, that would bring us to 31, which was the agreed upon number.
Right, okay. All right, I just wanted to get it clear in my mind. I get it now.
Any other questions or comments?
And excuse me, and that's what it says in the contract, 31, all told?
No, it's not what it says in the contract, although we haven't, the contractual obligation is less, although we have not operated at that contractual obligation number for quite a few years.
Okay.
For a long time. But we haven't ever agreed to change the contractual obligation number.
I think the contractual obligation number, Donna, is a minimum. We can go over that, but we can't go under that. Am I right, Patrick?
That is correct.
Any other questions or comments? If there aren't, do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion.
Go ahead, Denise.
I just gotta find it here. I approve Chief Jones. I give request to hire 4 probationary police officers to attend the police academy in January 2021.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Counselor Driggs,
Yes.
Counselor Clarke,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes.
and I am also a yes. And finally, Chief, Police Chief Jones requests appointment of Sean Fredema to position of Reserve Police Officer.
So as we all know, Officer Fredema has recently retired and has volunteered for a number of town boards. So he's also requested that he remain on as a reserve police officer to continue to serve the town in that role.
I guess my question is he would be an employee of the town still? Can he be on the committees?
Yes. Well, that's an interesting question because we do have a reserve officer on a committee now. And I think the answer is yes.
It's not like double dipping or anything like that? I mean, I don't know. I just.
Well, no, you don't get paid anything to be a volunteer to be on a committee, so you're not dipping. You're an unpaid volunteer on a committee.
Yeah, but he is making retirement and then he's getting reserve and he's also on a committee.
Yeah,
Well,
Donna,
then-
I think this has been discussed in the past. If this committee has anything to do with his job performance or what he's making money for, then it's a conflict. This was discussed with another person before, but as long as this committee doesn't interfere with his duties or have anything to do with his duties, it's been deemed as okay.
I just wanted to get that clarified. Thank you.
And I also think, and maybe Mike or Chris can clarify this, reserve officers aren't, they're not employees. They're like, it's more like a per diem.
But they're still employees.
Well,
They get paid.
I mean, they get paid, but they don't get health insurance or benefits or, I mean, they have their retirement stuff, but they're not, I don't know, maybe Mike can clarify a little bit if he has an opinion.
Well, I'll let Chris, but the only question I would have for the chief is, because they're reserve officers and I'm assuming he just recently retired, he keeps his certifications as far as the right to carry a gun and all that. And I'm concerned about the liability from the trust perspective, because they do have a policy about insuring reserve police officers. I just want to make sure that he's covered for any acts that he may do as a reserve police officer. And I know that it requires that they keep up his certifications through the town. It's one of the requirements anyway.
That's correct. So this is the issue that we researched when we started the reserve force for the casino to supplement us with the casino. So Officer Ferdima is retired. He signs a contract with the town. He's more of a subcontractor because we are not directly paying him. So when he works for the casino, after all of the regular officers get the opportunity to, if none of them want it, he can work it, but he is getting paid directly by the casino. And he signs a contract with us to say that he is at will. He's not a full-time employee. He gets whatever is available, and that's how it works.
Patrick, he wouldn't do a detail, so this would be just for the casino?
He can do details as well.
So when he does a detail, he is getting paid by us, right? Because the people pay the town.
Yep.
It is through, yes, obviously. It's through, we get reimbursed from the casino,
right.
but it gets done through normal payroll. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, so a detail would be normal payroll.
Yes.
Okay, so, and a reserve officer would be doing details also?
Correct.
Okay.
There
So he wouldn't be a subcontractor if he's doing that?
Well, he'd be a town employee, like I said.
Right.
Well, I don't know, can you serve on committees when you're a town employee?
Yes. Can't you, Nancy?
Well,
I don't think so.
This is, there is something in the charter about town that town employees and their eligibility to serve on a board or commission. But I'm not sure that, I guess we'd have to clarify whether somebody who essentially does per diem work is an employee, right? I'm not sure that they're in the same category as somebody who's a full-time employee who receives vacation and sick days and healthcare and all that other stuff. When we hire somebody to do essentially per diem work, whether it's the same. Chris has his hand up.
So I believe you just hit the nail on the head. It's a classification of an employee. He's not a full-time employee. He's not even a part-time employee. He is a at-will employee to deal with certain details that may become available. And there was a pecking order as to how those details get assigned. So he's not even guaranteed to get those. It depends on somebody above him may pick that detail before he even gets an opportunity to have it. So I don't believe he falls in the criteria that we would say an employee, like a full-time or a part-time employee in town would be barred from being on a board or commission. I think this type of classification would, could be exempted. Because he's really not an employee. The reason why they're paid the way that they are is because, quite frankly, years ago, many of them didn't pay their taxes. So the municipalities and the state made sure that any of these details that were done through communities, even though they were part-time, they had to be paid through our town's payroll to ensure that they were covered, but they are not covered, well, they are covered for unemployment because we have one of those right now. And it's not even one of our own employees. It is a special reserve. So it is a sticky wicket, but I believe me, this individual does not have a full-time job. He doesn't have a desk to come to. He doesn't have a function to do every day. It's only whether or not we need him to do a specific special detail, and that he falls in the category where he can actually be assigned it because somebody else hasn't bid him out of it.
I have a question about workman's comp. What if he's hurt? We're on the, does he have to have his own insurance, or are we going to be paying
I
workman's
believe we
comp?
cover him by the agreement. I believe the agreement requires that we cover it, and the trust has gone through this as well. They have looked at the policies related to this, and this way the chief is assured that he can control whether or not they qualify to do the role that his department mandates that these details have, whether it be for carrying a weapon or carrying out departmental policy. So the control is still under the chief, but there is a very limited amount of work that these people do.
Madam President?
John, hang on a second. John had his hand up, and then I'll get to Joe. John?
I was just going to make a motion. I don't know if Joe was going to do the same thing, but I'd like to make a motion to appoint Sean Ferdima to the position of reserve police officer.
Okay. Let's see if there's a second, then we'll continue the discussion. Is there a second?
I'll second it with a discussion.
Okay, go ahead. And Joe?
Is the per diem officer just like the firefighters that work at the casino?
Yes.
Because when I had applied for that position, you had to be to provide your own insurance. So I would think that we were questioning about if you had to be a subcontractor was what we were told when we went to that class for the firefighters.
I don't believe that's the case. I believe that any of our reserve officers or retirees from, actually, I didn't even know if the fire department does retirees.
Not anymore.
Not
No,
anymore. We
they
did.
don't.
Use
We
our
did, but not
Yeah,
anymore.
well, we tried to, but we couldn't. It was too complicated.
Right, and that was one of the reasons they had to provide their own insurance.
That
and there
was one of the reasons, correct.
Yeah. Right.
Well, if he got hurt also, not only workman's comp, but also disability?
No, I believe that that's a separate thing. Is that not, Chief?
That is correct. He is absolutely not eligible for disability because he is not a full-time employee. And that's right in the statute.
All right, okay.
So, motion and a second. Are there any other questions or comments? And then we'll go to a vote. Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Counselor deMedeiros?
Yes.
Counselor Driggs?
Yes.
Counselor Perry?
Yes.
Counselor Clarke?
Yes.
Counselor Cook?
Yes.
And I am also a yes.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Item G, Administrator Cotta, approval of pension enrollment buyback for Treasurer Denise Surratt.
So this is another instance of something in the past that really shouldn't have happened, but apparently, Denise Surratt and quite frankly, the clerk or any full-time elected official should have been enrolled into the municipal retirement system. And unfortunately, it was an inadvertent mistake that Denise Surratt was not enrolled. And there was an inquiry that was done early in 2020, I believe it was in January 2020. I think both Nancy Mello and Denise had inquired, and the retirement board did finally get back to the town and did agree that Denise should have been enrolled. And there's a catch-up period that the town needs to pay its contributions with interest to bring her whole. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't do this. It was like I said, it was an inadvertent mistake. It needs to be corrected, and I would recommend that we fund this accordingly. I know that Denise has talked with the town's auditors. We can make a prior year adjustment so it does not come out of this year's budget. And she has been paying into the system since, I believe, last month, early in September. So I would recommend that we approve this and move forward.
What kind of money are we looking at?
So
40 grand.
it's a catch up, yeah, from 2012 till now, and the town's contribution is, hang on.
39,000 and change.
Yeah. It's right here.
39,158.40.
Chris, I have a question.
Sure.
That number, is that gain loss calc, or is that just what we would have contributed over that time period?
So it's what you would have contributed over that time period with simple interest calculation to it.
Come here, Gib.
Okay.
It's a simple interest calculated annually. So it does get compounded, but on an annual basis.
Seems like we're getting off pretty easy here. That's not a full blown gain loss calc. So
It is. It's, that's, I remember when I had to purchase mine from the state years ago, I was allowed to buy my military when I was 24 years into the service. And while my original contribution wasn't a lot of money, the interest seemed to be not that bad either, because they did it the same way. It was, it is what it is, but it's actually a fairly reasonable, considering it's 8 years worth of catch up. I mean, it's not a bad deal.
Can I ask another question? Why did this seems like a pretty big issue that it was not discovered until 8 years in. What?
So I don't know what prompted this in January of 2020. I do know the retirement board is pretty thorough about these things. I do know a number of municipalities that have had some issues in the past for not making contributions. It is a mandatory issue. I just think that they may have thought that Tiverton's treasurer was a part-time position. And it really isn't. I will say that the treasurer works a full 35 hours. If not, I've seen her here more than that. She's here at least 35, 40, 50 hours a week. It is a pretty demanding job.
John?
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the pension enrollment / buyback for Treasurer Denise Surratt in the amount of, do you want the total amount? 39,158.40.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. If any other comments? In that case, Counselor Driggs,
Yes.
Counselor Clarke,
Yes.
Come here.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes.
and I am also a yes.
Oh, I have anything on that.
And now speaking of the treasurer, Treasurer Surratt and the town solicitor, approval of the Durfee Cemetery Agreement with the town of Tiverton.
I can give you some background on this if you'd like. I don't know if the treasurer's on, but about a year ago, they approached me about accepting a bequeath from an estate regarding the upkeep of the Durfee Cemetery Agreement that had been part of an estate, part of a will. And at the time I had indicated, if you recall, we spoke about that, it was a bad idea for the town to be accepting monies from private individuals, basically to do, serving as the town's bank account and to, to pay for things such as this. However, after some exhaustive research through Denise and dealing with the executive of the state, we actually found out that the town actually was deeded this cemetery many years ago. I can't remember the exact date because I don't have the paperwork in front of me, but many years ago. And as part of that deed, the town agreed to maintain and upkeep the cemetery. And it was also with that initial transfer, there was, I think, some monies given by the heirs of the Durfee family. So since that time, over the course of many years, there have been additional monies bequeathed to the Durfee family, basically cemetery maintenance fund, basically. Unfortunately, there was never any type of agreement regarding what the town's responsibilities are and whatnot. So after speaking with Denise, we agreed that it would be good to at least formalize something. And that's what you have before us today. It's a more formal agreement. Pretty basic. It's not.
I don't have anything.
Yeah, I don't have this either.
I don't have it either.
Oh.
No. We don't have anything.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Luckily, we're all in front of our computers, so if you want to email it.
Yeah, but it wasn't part of the paperwork for people to look at in town.
You're right, Donna. So do we have to table this until we get it?
You want, Jeannie, it was sent to you on 11/20, Jeannie, on Friday. I don't know if you got it. I'm looking at the email right now.
It was sent to us,
I sent it to the clerk's office.
but it wasn't part of the packet.
I don't have a court document.
Yeah, Mike, I'll have to look again. I don't show that we received anything for this item.
We can, we'll have to table it. Go ahead.
Okay,
You know what, Mike, I was out Friday. Maybe you sent it and I didn't see it.
okay. So should we continue this then to we don't need to table it, but continue it?
Yeah.
So we'll take a vote to continue it.
Madam Chair, Mr. Durfee is on the line. I don't know if you, well, you don't have the agreement in front of you in case you wanted to make any comments about it, in case it won't be available, but it's up to you.
Oh,
I think,
I'm
well, I
not gonna
think
make
it
a
probably-
comment on something I don't see.
Well, I think probably if the next council's going to take it up, it might be best to take the comments then, just, you think?
That's fine.
So do I have a motion to continue this? till
So
the
moved.
meeting Of December 11th? Is it the 11th,
Second.
Nancy?
No, it's just
14th.
14th.
14th,
So moved.
this,
second.
okay, there's a motion and a second.
Third.
Then the documentation will be available both for the council and for the public to see before the meeting. Councilor Driggs,
Yes.
Councilor Clarke,
Yes.
Councilor Perry,
Yes.
Councilor deMedeiros.
Yes, and just as a point, I'm looking at my email. I did not receive any document on Friday.
No, I didn't say the council received it. The clerk's office received it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Councilor Edwards,
Yes.
Councilor Cook,
Yes.
and I'm also a yes. And to the members of the Durfee family who might be here to speak, we're sorry we're going to have to push this back, but in the absence of having the document available for the council and the public to see, we'll wait until the next meeting and hope that join us, or join the council then, that you would please do so. Item 9, Madam Clerk, Town Clerk update on the results of the November 3rd, 2020 general election.
Well, as I stated, I was out on Friday, so probably why I missed Mike's email. But I also did receive an email from the Board of Election stating that the local boards of canvass could certify the local elections, not the state and federal, because the Board of Elections won't be certifying that till November 30th, which is Monday. They also sent the write-ins that were necessary for us to certify. Up until Friday, Friday afternoon, by the way, we did not have any of that information. So today we're trying to get a meeting with the Board of Canvass to certify our local election. It's going to be difficult to get it by Wednesday. I could only do it Wednesday night. We're not going to be able to get it till probably Monday, post it till Monday or Tuesday. So at that point, I will tell you that they have certified write-ins. The top write-ins, as I see it, 4 will be considered part of the election to certify. There are 2 members of the budget committee, that's on the budget committee. There are 2 members that will be taking other positions, which will create vacancies, and then the council will have to appoint 2 other members to the budget committee. But we should be able, that's going to take a little work for us to get that together. So we will probably have the Board of Canvas will probably meet Monday or Tuesday in order to certify the local elections. That being said, the charter does stipulate that at the next regular scheduled council meeting, and this has been brought up before, so that's when the new council will be sworn in, take office, along with any other members. That is generally historically how we have done it. So I am assuming on December 14th, unless somebody says differently, that will be the meeting of the swearing in of all the new elected officials. This council will have to meet to approve the minutes of tonight. You can make any statements, and then you'll leave. I'll swear in the others, and they'll take on any business at that time. That's about all I have to say. I didn't get the information till late Friday, and we couldn't do anything with it then.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Clerk. John?
So 2 questions. So are you not prepared to indicate what the top write-in vote candidates were for the budget committee yet? At least those 2 positions that will be seated?
4.
There will be 4 positions, but the names, no, because the Board of Canvas has to certify them. We haven't even done it up on certified. But I can send out to you tomorrow if you like what the list is.
That would be helpful.
It's public. It's just that the Board of Canvas hasn't certified. We haven't even tallied that into what we have yet. Unfortunately, the state took longer than we thought they would on getting us that stuff, but.
And then my second question, will you be doing the swearing in, or will that be the new clerk?
I'm assuming I will swear in the newly elected officials as my last duty. And then I will leave, and the new town clerk, Joan Chabot, will come in and do the election for president.
Okay.
Just as I have done in the past.
Nancy.
Short of somebody telling me differently.
Yes, Denise?
Nancy, I think it would be an honor for the new council if this was the last thing you did was swear us in. I think that they would like that. And a few of them have said that to me.
Mentioned, but I mean, I appreciate that.
I do have another question though about the budget committee.
Yeah.
So there are 4 empty spaces right now.
There are 5 empty. The ballot said elect up to 5. Dave
Okay, so
Perry
there's
was on
5,
the
but
ballot.
that's counting Dave Perry.
That's counting Dave Perry, who was
So
on the
there's
ballot.
4 write-ins
There,
that automatically get it.
the 4 top write-ins would be elected, yes.
And then when Deb Janik and Mike Dakotas resigned from the budget committee.
Which they have to do before I swear them in.
Right, so those would be the ones that the 2 positions that the town council would appoint.
Yes, that would create 2 vacancies. As I understand it, Mike, the solicitor, I've run through this with the solicitor.
Yeah, I looked at the charter too, and that's what it looks like.
They would be considered vacancies. So you wouldn't be able to appoint that night, but we could, you could put it on your next agenda.
The easiest way to look at it is election time. at election time, there was only 5 vacant positions.
Yes, and it was stated right on the ballot, vote for up to 5.
Yes. Yes.
And if you read the charter, there is a clause in there that actually defines what an elected, available elected, the next highest elected voter would be. It actually defines as a definition in there that that's going to create these as vacancies now. You just can't consider the next 2.
Right.
You can consider them, but you have to appoint. So that's where it stands unless the solicitor or someone else says differently. I have sent, Christine sent out an email to the Board of Canvas. They seem to be in agreement. It's a little tough to get this. We'd have to do it Wednesday night. That's not going to happen, but we are trying to figure out when they can meet. It's not like there's going to be a big rush because we're going to have to recertify for our state and federal elected officials, and that can't be done till after November 30th because the state Board of Election is still not certifying that till November 30th.
You basically, Nancy, so you basically have between now and the next council meeting, which is December 14th, to have the local board meet to certify the local elections.
Right, but we'll certify just as soon as we can. But it is a little more than just them sending the info and us. It takes a little more effort than that. So, and it's because of the holiday, we're going to be short some days in there.
Right, exactly, because you got 48 hours notice, so that you're not going to get, the holiday's not going to count towards that 48 hours.
Right, right. But we are doing it as quickly as we can. John, I'll send you that list tomorrow, and anybody
Thank
else.
you.
I'd like it too, Nancy.
Anybody who wants it, it's public. As soon as we can compile it, it's public.
There you go. Thank you, Madam Clerk. That brings us to the end of our agenda. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
And I'll take a hand roll call vote. All in favor?